Part 2, Razaban for FightHype.com.
What's wrong with you? None, man. It's London, this is summer.
The ladies are just flocking.
I don't know why.
Johnny, David's been very quiet throughout this whole process, the build up of this fight. Come face off with Bellew today and for some pushing and shoving.
It was Tony that pushed David, funnily enough. I think Tony's that serious and that Tony's doing his hardest to get under David's skin. David's almost biting, he started today, and Tony just needs to edge him out. He needs to make him dislike him, really dislike him, hate him. I think that was a bit of gamesmanship by Tony, trust me. There's a lot more. Tony's a clever guy. Tony understands the sport inside out, inside and out of the ring, technically, how to get in a fighter's brain. Tony's very astute, so if you're going to measure both fighters on that, Tony wins top side. Because a lot of fights are won before the first ball's even gone. You've got to get your fighters, your opponents to fight in a certain way, use certain tactics, and this is how it's going. I think at this stage, you look at both fighters. Technically, as a boxer, I say at this stage, I'd say Tony's actually technically better at this stage, but explosively as a fighter, I'd say David's the better of the two at this stage. Now the question is, I know David mentioned himself, you can only be judged by your last performance, so on paper you'd expect Tony to pull this off. But if you'd have asked me this 5 years ago, I'd have said David Haye. Tony, and I think what's happened with David is over the last 5, 6, 7 years, he's never had to go all out and get his shit together because of the levels of opponents. And I'm even talking about the likes of David Shadora. He's looked flat-footed, he's not looked on point, and even actually on Saturday I was surprised. I thought, has that become a habit? That back foot's a bit flat. Now he's had to train like a madman. He's had to get his stuff right. So David will either come out with an unbelievable performance like he did against Enzo McInerney when he won the fight and when he won the WBO title, or when he beat Enzo McInerney, or he's going to have to try and rejuvenate what he had. He just looked a little flat-footed, I must admit, when I seen him, the little touch I've seen him on. I hope that's a ruse. But if it isn't a ruse, I think we've got a hell of a fight with a decisive finish from Saturday night.
Why is David being so, okay, I won't use the word humble.
Subdued.
Yeah, but obviously, but if you look at his fight with Tony, the first fight, clearly, as outsiders, you would say Tony won that fight, David was on one leg. Yeah. Why isn't David using that excuse and saying, well, you beat me on one leg?
Because he won't. He might say it afterwards. He might say it after this fight, but he won't say it yet because he thinks what you all saw. I'm trying to talk from David's point of view. He's saying you all saw. Better man won. He's not mentioned it once. But I bet you anything, if he wins Saturday night, that's what he'll talk about. They'll say, everybody ignored the fight, this is what happened in the first fight, this is the only reason why it happened. Now he can't say that now, because if he loses again, so after the fight, don't be surprised if he actually addresses that. Now the reason why David's more subdued, more humble this time is one, because he was humble, two, because he looked at how he fought, he looked at how his body structure was, you looked at his attitude before the fight, how he spoke to Tony, how he disrespected Tony, how he disrespected the Scouse fans. He was angry, he was incensed, so he couldn't even think straight. He was thinking, I'm just going to blast this guy out of water. And then when you watch him box, even he himself says, I watched that and I didn't even recognise David before the fight. This is what David Haye said. I didn't even recognise that David fighting. I looked like a pure novice because I just wanted to blow his head off. Now, Tony's made him respect him and become humble. So in doing that, now David's thinking, like it or not, I've got to respect this guy. Same thing happened with George Groves and Carl Froch. Second time round, Carl got his shit together and thought, I've got to respect a guy I don't like. And like it or not, David has to respect Tony, even if he doesn't like him. That's how it is.
What's your prediction for Saturday night?
Saturday night, I think I'm really split. Because technically I think Tony's a better fighter technically at this stage in their career, but looking at David, looking at the attitude, looking at everything that's gone about, I wouldn't be surprised if David won. And if you'd have asked me 5 years ago, 6 years ago, I'd say David without a heartbeat. The only reason why I'm struggling is because David has not shown us that form in 6, 7 years. That's the only reason why I'm struggling. If he had, I'd say David. And if David can produce that form, I'd say David. But he hasn't. So that's the only reason why I'm saying Tony.
1 point.
Yeah. But remember, if David produces that, it's David.
Johnny Nelson, FightHype.com.
Peace.
See you tomorrow.